When it comes to categorizing people, men and women, into a group, it gets to be very dangerous. When you have to categorize men and women into a particular group and a particular pay scale, it gets very, because people do different jobs. If they do the same job, they should get the same pay, but it's very hard to say what is the same job. It's a very, very tricky question, and I talked about competition with other places and other parts of the world, Mika. This is one of the things that we have to look at very strongly.
Yeah, that was Donald Trump speaking with us during the 2016 campaign. One of his answers to the many times I asked him about the issue of equal pay.
So he was for, it sounds like he's for equal pay if you're doing the same job.
Right.
Well, that's simple.
It's very complicated. It's not that complicated. It's pretty simple, actually. Now the Trump administration has suspended an Obama-era policy that would have required large companies to report to the government what they pay employees by race, gender, and ethnicity. The original executive action was meant to help address the gap between men and women's wages. But the Office of Management and Budget is now reviewing it. The president's daughter, Ivanka Trump, who has pushed for equal pay for women in the past, has issued a statement supporting the move, writing, ultimately, while I believe the intention was good and agree that pay transparency is important, the proposed policy would not yield the intended results. We look forward to continue to work with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the Office of Management and Budget, Congress, and all relevant stakeholders on robust policies aimed at eliminating the gender wage gap.
So, Mika, what do you think about this?
Kathy,
Obviously, something that
I went in to talk to Ivanka about the issue of women and how perhaps she could really spread her wings and stake a place in the White House to represent women. I was hopeful, and I am disappointed.
So Ivanka
Kathy?
stood up there in Cleveland at the Republican National Convention and praised her father for his attitude to equal pay and the way that he treated women and promoted women in his industries. And she said that her father's administration would fully support the aim of equal pay for women. She made exactly that same point when she came back into the White House after the election, after the inauguration. And to see her row back on this and to say, well, this wouldn't actually have helped, this legislation that would get companies to have transparency on pay issues, seems to me totally uncredible on her part. Full disclosure, I'm involved at the moment in an equal pay dispute with the BBC. A lot of women are. All of our pays were published this summer, and it led to a lot of attention in the British press. I signed a letter, along with some others, to the head of the BBC, and we're still negotiating that. But the one thing that we have found works is transparency.
You have to have,
actually, it's this publishing salaries is going to be the thing that gets women towards equal pay.
Yeah, and there have been a lot of opportunities, I think, for the White House to look at this, and it seems that they're erasing or trying to scrap the White House Council on Women and Girls and other areas.
Whatever the Obama administration did seems to be scrapped.
Wherever they made headway for women seems to be scrapped as well.
And on health issues, too. There's been a lot of rowback on women's health issues as well.
One of the pieces of advice I gave Ivanka when we were talking was to go talk to women who are struggling just to make ends meet, to maybe understand what that feels like. And also to talk to women who are struggling with equal pay issues, talk to small business owners, to understand what that feels like, to really engage. Because I think it would help her have a more firm view on this, given that her experience has been very different.
But Philip, the animating sort of principle behind what Donald Trump does in the White House seems to be the opposite.
That's right.
Of what Barack Obama did. Just like for many years, Barack Obama's sort of drive was to not be Dick Cheney and George W. Bush.
Although I would say this is probably exponentially more extreme. I actually started
I don't
compiling
know
a
about
list.
that,
Well,
actually. Because Barack Obama was obsessed and made some very, very bad choices on foreign policy that we are still, as a world, suffering from, because he did not want to be George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and wanted one wing of his presidential library to say that he ended all wars.
Right. Well, that on foreign policy,
it will not
absolutely,
be saying
there was certainly a backlash to the Bush era. But Trump, I mean, As I said, a list of at least 50 things, a lot of environmental regulations, a lot of business regulations, a lot of regulations like this. Trump gets a lot of critique for not having done a lot, but he has absolutely done a lot when it comes to undoing what Barack Obama did. Right. This is another example, but it really is. There are scores of things that he has done that are simply rolled back.
Some of those things, though, Charlie, are what conservatives, any conservative would want a president to do.
Well, exactly. And there's people, this is zero surprise here. First of all, it's not the Ivanka Trump administration, it's Donald Trump. So, what a shock that he would not stand up for women. But secondly, look, as a pro-business, anti-regulation president, this is pretty much consistent with what he's doing. I mean, he has been rolling back a lot of these regulations, and I think that it's very likely that any Republican president might have done these kinds of things, basically saying that, yes, we're in favor of the concept, but this is overreaching federal regulation, too much interference into the business community. So, on those two fronts, number one, how pro-business he is, how anti-regulation he is, but also, look, I mean, this is Donald Trump, who's never going to be a champion for women,
then
whatever he
says.
says.
Never have come out and said she was going to be, and she was going to change the White House. She shouldn't have held that up.
Of course not.
So really quickly, before we leave, quick prediction: are the Republicans going to pass tax reform or health care reform or anything by the end of the year? Significant?
Highly unlikely.
What do you think, Phil?
I think if they keep their heads down and keep Trump as far away from the process as possible, perhaps.
Okay. Good luck with that.
Charlie Sykes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Charlie,
as well.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.